In this short video, I will show you how to add another layer of security to your Verde logins by configuring multi-factor authentication in a Verde desktop policy rule. I am logged into the Verde Management Console using a Google Chrome browser. Verde uses desktop policy to enable multi-factor authentication for both VDI sessions and for remote access sessions. There is a prerequisite to use multi-factor authentication in Verde. You are required to download and install one of the mobile apps from either Google or Microsoft that will be used to generate and display the multi-factor authentication code that is needed when MFA has been enabled in Verde desktop policy. So in this video, I will go through the steps to enable multi-factor authentication in a desktop policy rule and go through the steps to use the multi-factor authentication application from Google on my Android device. The app is called Google Authenticator. So from the Verde Management Console, I'm going to hover over the Configuration tab and then scroll down to Desktop Policy. I'm going to select, as you can see from many desktop policy rules, this first rule for this local account Jeff. I'm going to click on Edit because I want to make changes to this rule. There's an option to select called Require Multi-factor Authentication. I can enable this added security by clicking on the box and then scroll down and click Update and Close. Now that I have enabled multi-factor authentication, I will launch the Verde client and log in to choose that provision desktops. So here's the Verde client, and I'll enter the password of this local user. And I will select from the drop-down list of desktops this Windows 10 64-bit. Now when I click on Connect to Desktop, the Verde multi-factor authentication screen will pop up. If this is the first time that I've connected to this desktop where the MFA has been enabled, it would prompt me to set up multi-factor authentication by either scanning the QR code from my mobile device using this Google Authenticator app, or manually entering the secret key into the mobile app to create the multi-factor authentication account. So here's the QR code and here's the long key. I'm going to go ahead and use my application on my phone and scan the QR code. So I'm going to hit the plus sign. I'm going to click Scan a QR code, focus on the code, and it'll create a new account. So now that I've got the Verde account created on Google Authenticator, I can go ahead and enter in the 6-digit code that's provided and click on Confirm. Now that I've passed the security, it should take me to the Verde Windows 10 desktop. If the 6-digit code is typed within the 30-second period, you'll be connected fine. You may have to wait for the Authenticator app to list a new code and to begin a new 30-second period in order for you to have time to enter the code into the Verde multi-factor authentication screen. Once the MFA account has been configured on your mobile device, you can use it for all Verde provision desktops that have multi-factor authentication enabled in the desktop policy rule. You won't have to create an MFA account for each desktop. Now here are some things that can keep multi-factor authentication from working correctly. Since this method of authentication is time-based, it is important that the Verde server have accurate time set within Linux in order for the code generation to match the codes provided from the mobile app. The second thing is multi-factor authentication will not take effect until an end user has performed a new login using either the Verde client or the HTML5 browser access once the MFA flag has been set in a desktop policy rule. In other words, if there's already a working multi-factor authentication account bound to a provisioned desktop and the MC admin sets the MFA flag in another desktop policy rule, the end user won't immediately be able to connect to the new desktop without relogging on. Let me show you what I mean. So let's go to this second rule in desktop policy and edit it, and I'll enable multi-factor authentication. I'll update and close. And bear in mind that the Verde client is still logged in. And now I'm going to select this Windows 10 Office 365. Watch what happens, because I've never logged out and re-logged in after that change was made. I get this error message. Now once I shut down the Verde client and restart it and log back in, the multi-factor authentication will work correctly. So let me do that. I'll close that. Okay, let me go down and launch the Verde client again, and I'll log back in again. And this time we will select the Windows 10 Office 365 and say connect to desktop. And now it's prompting me for the multi-factor authentication code, and I'll go ahead and enter that. I have to wait for the 30-second window because it was just about elapsed. There we go, there's the new window. And I will click confirm. And now I'm being connected to my Windows 10 Office 365 desktop. So I'll go ahead and disconnect. Now if the Authenticator app was removed from your mobile device and reinstalled, you will need the Verde MC admin to delete your multi-factor authentication account from the Verde server so you can create a new account. If the multi-factor authentication was set up on another mobile device that you no longer have, you will need to have the Verde MC admin delete your multi-factor authentication account from the Verde server so you can create a new account on your new mobile device. The last thing I want to show you is how the MC admin would remove a multi-factor authentication account within the Verde server. So from the Verde Management Console, I'm going to hover over the Configuration tab. I'm going to scroll down to Administration, and I'm going to scroll over to User MFA Management. And here you will see a list of accounts that were created that have multi-factor authentication accounts. It's going to display username and date enabled. Once you locate the account that needs to be removed, over to the right of the screen you'll see a box that you can select on it. I'm going to click on that box, and then I'm going to click the Remove button above. When the user logs in and selects the desktop with multi-factor authentication enabled, they will have to repeat the steps to create the multi-factor authentication account on their mobile device. This concludes this video, how to configure multi-factor authentication for Verde sessions.